So you are in the silence without need for words. There's nothing to discuss, nothing to debate, argue. That's the natural state of awakening. And that's the conversation. So it's that simple. 31 minutes, that's simple. We could have got it in 15 or 10 or 5, right? Be aware of being aware. That's all. I said it in 6 words, I can say it in 1. Aware or being, you know. So you choose which one. One letter, B. Another letter, C. Not C of Clara, but C of C. Well, just playing, I mean, it's so simple. It is simple when you have uncluttered a lot of your attachments, of your fears, of your thinking mind, your projects, ambitions, objectives, etc. When you can recognize the truth of every moment within you, then it becomes simple. It's just a little step. So don't be afraid of asking if you have questions. But ask something you have not asked before.
Could you talk to us about surrender?
It's a tricky word. Because surrender implies two. Someone surrenders to something or to someone. So it's a dualistic scheme or model. In a way. But we could say that surrender is also relaxation. Then it's not a voluntary act, it's just spontaneous. I would say that surrender is genuine if it's spontaneous. If it's elaborate, preconceived, then it's not surrender. It's not true. It's just a game of the mind. It's making a deal, a business. I surrender in order to what something. You buy something. You're buying something. But you are present. So you are surrendering, I am surrendering. The very fact saying I am surrendering is not surrendering. It betrays the surrendering. You see? Saying I am surrendering, it affirms your your will. So true surrender is unnoticed, it's just relaxed. The relaxation that happens spontaneously or involuntarily when something is recognized. So I would say that surrender follows intelligence. Intelligence awakens to a certain point, and then the mind surrenders. But the mind surrenders beyond any voluntary attempt to surrender, without preconception, without planning, just taken by surprise. That's how the mind surrenders. The thinking mind, that's how it happens. So, intelligence awakens, and intelligence sees the mind, and disidentifies from the mind. And the mind, which is a device, has many things, many metaphors, analogies to describe the mind. Let's say it's the ventriloquist puppet, right? So imagine the ventriloquist puppet has taken autonomous existence, and it's blah 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 talking, to the point that the ventriloquist has forgotten that he is talking through that puppet. So he's inside the puppet thinking that he's the puppet. That's how it works, somehow. That's our case. We are the transcendental consciousness. This is the ventriloquist. So we have forgotten, we have identified we have identified ourselves with our output device, a printer or a puppet, And that identification is so strong that we live as we are, as if we are the character created by that mind, that person, puppet. We believe totally that we are that. So when intelligence sees what's the mind, which is just a dead piece of wood, then it drops it. And in that dropping, the persona that was created through the puppet, in its last expression or act of self-existence, says, okay, you got it, I'm done. Like he says that. You see, it's not him because he cannot talk by itself. Intelligence makes it talk. The ventriloquist. But it looks like he says. That's the last act of the mind. That's surrender, when the mind says, okay, I'm done, I cannot do this anymore, I'm helpless. But it's the mind cannot say that because the mind cannot recognize, the mind has no intelligence of itself, cannot see what she is or is not the mind. It's intelligence who sees what's the mind. But it appears as if intelligence is, as if mind is saying that. Okay, I'm done, I'm helpless, I cannot think these things by myself. The mind drops, saying that. That's the last thing the mind says. I'm helpless. And then total silence following that. But the whole thing has been the intelligence, not the mind, who has gone through that process of awakening and seeing and dropping and cutting the identification. But the mind who has acquired that apparent autonomous persona looks like he or she is saying, okay, I cannot do that. I cannot think these things, these are beyond me. Because truth is beyond words. Truth is life. The intellect cannot grasp it, so I'm done. And dies. That's the last act of the puppet. But but has been the intelligence who has done that spontaneously, without planning. All these things has happened autonomously, without planning, without will. Just is a matter of seeing. So intelligence has seen and then has dropped the identification. You can say the other puppets that go with strings.
Marionettes.
Marionettes. Same thing. It's like suddenly the marionettist cuts or drops the strings and the characters drop, fall down. Same thing. Then the puppet or the marionette becomes totally passive. It is not animated by the ventriloquist unconsciously to act by itself as if it was alive, and you know. Now it only the puppeteer is totally conscious of who's who moves the strings, who is the source, where the understanding or wisdom comes from. So it is not identified, not inside the marionette or the puppet, and then the puppet is not endowed of that nervous activity of believing she is someone by itself, unconsciously. So it's not embedded and not endowed with that nervousness and excitement and so on. It's just totally passive. And then in that consciousness of self-awareness, intelligence resting in itself, the mind, which is that puppet, is only used to express consciously the messages of intelligence to the world, to the manifested reality. Oh. So it becomes the mind becomes a passive, resting, very faithful vehicle of expression. And this is that surrender that has happened spontaneously and followed intelligence. I don't know if that's clear what I said, the whole thing.